The second idea in managerial accounting we're going to look into is called activity-based costing. And it pretty much does exactly what's in its name. It allocates costs based on an activity. Now, it's kind of hard to understand what that really means, and so let's dive a little bit further. You see, every company has fixed costs or overhead. And when we're doing financial accounting, the things that were called SG&A kind of fall into this category, such as rent, advertising expenses, secretary salaries, things like that. And so what we're trying to do though is we're trying to figure out how much does it cost for me to make this one product. And in order to do that, you have to be able to allocate these fixed costs to products somehow. So activity-based costing is the process you use to do that exact thing. It's helpful because it allows you to understand exactly how much it costs, or really close to it, to create one product, which therefore you can use to figure out how much you should price that product or how much money you really make when it comes down to selling one cup of coffee or one t-shirt or one TV. So let's get into the process right now. So the first step to activity-based costing is identifying the costs that need to be allocated. Now these are costs that had some way, shape, or form impacted how many products you made, or you used them in making the product, but they can't be directly linked to it, like labor or materials. A great example of this would be something like an electricity bill. So let's say, for example, that this last month you had a $1,000 electric bill for your t-shirt manufacturing company. How are you going to allocate that $1,000? Well, the second step in activity-based costing is where you find an activity that logically links how much that bill was to the actual product itself. So let's think about ways that a t-shirt company would use electricity. So let's say that your electricity powered your lighting, your sewing machines, your graphic printers, your computers, all that kind of good stuff. So there's a few different ways you can link it. You just have to figure out, okay, which of those ways is probably the most accurate way to link that electric bill to the product that went out the door. Well, in my mind, I think probably sewing machine would be the easiest way to do it. And maybe you start tracking how many hours the sewing machine was used. That's one way. Or let's say you don't like the sewing machine idea. Let's say that you're more of a printer guy and you're going to track how many hours the printer was used. The idea is pretty much just find something you can track, hopefully easily, and allocate that cost based on that tracked number. So let's use my example of sewing machine. Let's say over the last month, when you had this electricity bill, you used your sewing machine for around 1,000 hours. Okay, that's relatively easy math. So $1,000 in electric bill divided by 1,000 hours of sewing machine gives me $1 per hour. That's allocated. And the next step is finding out how many hours of the sewing machine goes into each product. Well, let's say that you were able to make 200 products this past month. So 200 t-shirts. So the sewing machine used for 1,000 hours, divided that by 200, each t-shirt takes relatively about 5 hours. 5 hours of sewing. Not too bad. So you know that each sewing machine hour costs you $1 in electricity. So do $1 electricity to $1 in sewing machine, and you know it takes 5 hours of sewing machine to make one t-shirt. So 5 times 1 times 1 gives you $5 in electricity cost per t-shirt. That's pretty much activity-based costing completely done. All you have to do is find the costs that you need to allocate. Find a logical activity to link those costs to the final product, track that activity, hopefully accurately, and then determine exactly how much that activity was used to create the products you needed in order to allocate the costs to the final product itself. So now you know that maybe after everything's said and done, each t-shirt had $5 in electricity costs, plus $10 in labor and $5 in materials. So there it cost you $20 to make one t-shirt. That's what you're trying to find here. You're trying to find the total dollars that it took to make this one individual product. Then you can say, okay, if it cost me $20 to make this t-shirt, I'm going to sell it for $25, and I made $5 in profit. Or if you already know you're going to sell it for $10, you can say, crap, man, I only made $10 per t-shirt. How am I going to make more money next month? I don't want to lose money on every t-shirt I sell. That's going to come up here soon as well. For right now, just remember that activity-based costing is all about allocating costs that are not directly linked, but are somewhat linked to the product itself. Things that can't be used in activity-based costing are things that are product costs, like insurance payments that you just have no way to link to the product itself, or at some point, certain types of salaries. For example, the CEO of a big t-shirt company isn't really going to have any impact on the t-shirts itself, and so his salary may be a period cost. It may not be a product cost, and that's okay. We'll cover about how those product costs affect your total profit later on. All you have to remember at this point in time is that activity-based costing helps you allocate costs based off activity that you can track in order to find the total and legitimate product cost, or how much it costs to make the individual thing that you're selling as of right now.